I was very frustrated that I wanted to do better, but I didn't have a good coach. I didn't have a good mentor. I didn't have great teachers of any kind. And I wanted so bad to make a better life, you know? Yeah. And I was so driven about that I think you might find that relatable, that at some point in your life that you're like, you don't want to be like the people around you. You wanted to do something special.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be in the grayness of the average, or you can choose to be different. And my mother didn't like anything of extremes, right? So she would always insist, don't be extreme. And I said, like, excuse me, anything I do, I want to be extreme. I mean, if you're putting your effort and time into something, it doesn't matter what it is, right? I'm going to either do 100% or not at all. And who I am to say, okay, this is the limit. No, the sky is the limit, always been like this. So for me, coming from Yugoslavia, nobody even...
If you don't have $1 million yet, you're living a much lesser life than what could be easily available to you with the right guidance. My head coach has freed up a few spots in his calendar to hold one-on-one strategy calls with the highest quality applicants. If you're doing well already, and you're looking to accelerate your momentum and do even better, click the link in the description now and apply for your strategy session. More at the end of this video.
Today I'm chatting with Miloš Šarčev. Milos is a bodybuilding legend. He's in the top 10 best bodybuilders in the world forever, like 15 years. I looked at your record. You're winning, top for late 80s through the early 2000s. Yeah?
Exactly. I started in 85 and I finished in 2003, yes. But thank you for pronouncing my name correctly, because even in the industry, nobody can say my name.
I tried. My name is impronounceable as well, so I have
Bushinovsky, right?
Bushkovsky, something like that. But in America, then it's Buchkowski. I had to change it to Moneyberg so people could pronounce it.
It's much more striking.
Miloš also, he's trained, I don't know how many, but there's so many, not just bodybuilders, but other performance athletes. You've been involved in their career development and training them, helping them achieve their goals. And you spent the majority of your life around that sport, yeah?
Yes, I mean, let me just put it this way, okay, because you're not familiar with my sport and anything, but I would ask the audience in general. Every man, right, if they have a chance of being skinny, muscular, or fat, what would they choose, right? So this is how it goes. And then would you be athletic, strong, and perform, or not being able to? So in very early age, when I was first in karate, I was karate for a couple of years in Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, Serbia now. And then I realized there was not Olympic sport. That's why I switched to judo. And I was 8 years in judo, performing and trying to represent my country. Communistic country at the time. You don't see muscular guys. You don't see bodybuilding or anything like this. I didn't even realize that man's physique can look like Arnold Schwarzenegger until I've seen the pictures. And I do remember I was like a teenager and I've seen that picture, like, oh my God. That was like, Jesus, how did he get there? So right there and then I said, this is exactly what I want. And I wanted to represent my country in Miss Universe contest. And I put the plan. And fortunately, my father was psychiatrist, Dr. Science of Psychiatry. And he was a very influential guy. And it was one of those that make you believe that there is really no limits. So whatever you choose to do, you can achieve it. It's just like a matter of if you want. Another thing that he taught me of is don't fit in a box and don't just do what other people tell you. Even science, even history, history is written by the winners. So can you sometimes maybe challenge it? Or a science, right? Can you challenge it? Of course you can. So he told me to explore new possibilities. Don't just follow, try to lead. Don't just go with the paved road, maybe try to make your own. So from the very beginning, I had a very open mind in bodybuilding. And I developed techniques that and theories that was not accepted by exercise physiology ever at the time. I realized that any athlete in any sport, whatever you do, your muscles that are involved in this performance would be fed by blood. It would be increased blood flow to the muscle of your activity. But for bodybuilding, it was even extreme. Like you can achieve 70% of the blood coming into exact muscle that you're training only during a training, right? So back then, there was never really explained that if you really saturate that blood with the pre-digested nutrients, so they're ready for uptake, and then you take them exactly where you want them, you can store them right there and then. So you can't read this in any double-blind university study. There was just theory. I said, okay, so what can I put? What kind of nutrients into my intra-workout drinks? I created them, and I drink in between sets. And I was getting such overwhelmingly great results that I was accused of being on steroids at the time that I didn't know what steroids were. So to make long story short, within 7 years, I made it to the Mr. Universe, and I was drug-free, competing in Arizona with some of the best people in the world. And I didn't really have any clue about performance enhancement or anything. It was just like my theory, my way of training, and my supplementation. I later implemented this on many, many athletes. Like I said, I had over almost 50 Olympia athletes. So for people that are watching that they're not familiar with Olympia, that's the pinnacle of the sport, and it's super hard to qualify for it. So back in my time, you would have to first turn professional, win Miss Universe, turn professional, which I did in '89, and then turn professional in '91. And immediately I qualified for Mr. Olympia in my first pro debut. And I qualified for Olympia for 10 consecutive years in the '90s. And I don't know if you follow the sport, but that's a golden era when we had champions like Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler, Camille Lavroni, Chris Camille. I mean, that was the really hardest era. But I had a clear vision. This is what I wanted to do. And I accomplished. I made it, as you mentioned, to be a top 10 in the world for many years.
I was looking at Flex magazine and things like this, back in the '90s.
Yes.
And those are I was 16. I started lifting weights seriously when I was 16 for a while, 16, 17, 18. And, this is the mid '90s, 95, 96, 97, 98.
Yeah.
And so exactly. I didn't know that at the time, and I meet you years later. But so I would have been looking at some of your images. I would have been seeing you on stage at that time, and the guys that I knew Dorian Yates, and Dorian I think won 6 times back then. You know the history better than me.
Yeah, very good. And the last one was '97. You're right.
So I remember Nassar Sambadi.
Yeah.
I remember him from that time. I remember Jay Cutler from was coming in at that time, I think. So I know you know the history of this because you were living it, and I was looking at a magazine once in a while. But yeah, I'd look at those magazines and I'd go lifting weights, and I was just a teenage kid, but I enjoyed it, and I looked at that as like I think what you said about a young person, you want to be fat or skinny or muscular.
It's a physical culture, yeah. You have to put it
It's
in.
like some superhero shit. What you did and with the people that you were around is it's like a real life superhero to be looking like that and have these massive strength.
It is extreme. That's why I say like you can draw the line how muscular you want to be. But for me, as soon as I've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, I said, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. Yeah. But you were in sports, right?
No, I wasn't. I was a little shithead kid that I was in trouble all the time. My father was not around. My father was in prison for most of my childhood. My mother was not. I didn't have a good relationship with my mother, and when my mother died, I never went to her funeral, and I never felt bad for 1 second that I didn't go. So I kind of was raising myself since I was about 10 years old, and. I had to do a lot of guess and check. So I didn't have things like sports. I'd have to go try something and mess it up and try something. And I was very frustrated. You find this part relatable. I was very frustrated that I wanted to do better, but I didn't have a good coach. I didn't have a good mentor. I didn't have great teachers of any kind. And I wanted so bad to make a better life, Yes. And I was so driven about that I didn't give a shit what I had to do. I'd do anything, but I wanted to do better.
Yes.
So, I think I think you might find that relatable, that at some point in your life that you're like, you don't want to be like the people around you. You wanted to do something special.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be in the grayness of the average, or you can choose to be different. And my mother didn't like anything of extremes, right? So she would always insist, don't be extreme. And I said, like, excuse me, anything I do, I want to be extreme. I mean, if you're putting your effort and time into something, it doesn't matter what it is, right? I'm going to either do 100% or not at all. And who I am to say, okay, this is the limit. No, the sky is the limit. Always been like this. So for me, coming from Yugoslavia, nobody even ever accomplished to place top 10 in a European championship. I said, okay, I'm going to go to Miss Universe, win that, and then go and compete in Mr. Olympia. And I tell you just that back in that time, even my closest friends and relatives and people around me in the school, they were dying laughing. I was laughing stock of the nation. What are you going to do? Go to America and compete at Mr. Olympia? And there was like I'm going to go to the Mars. I said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And there was no doubt in my mind. And I tell you, at that time, I put a 5-year plan exactly. When I come to the United States, I said, I'm going to win Mr. Universe, I'm going to qualify for Mr. Olympia, and I'm going to make a living off of bodybuilding. That was a 5-year plan. And this plan, of course, can be much difficult to achieve when you consider I didn't speak any English when I came 87, zero. I had like $428.10 in my pocket, okay? And no really plan. You know, it was just like, okay, I'm going to compete in Miss Universe. I did meet a couple of American ladies from California, so I was going to contact them and all that stuff. But when I came to the competition, I didn't really expect that I'm the one that's supposed to pay for my hotel and everything else, right? So because in Europe, they paid for the hotel when I competed in European Championship. So now from this $428, I spent half on a 2-night stay in Arizona. And it's like, oh my God, what now? And then I had to come to San Diego from Tucson. And I was like, oh my God. At the time, I remember that was just a funny thing, because in Serbia, so many years ago, if you buy the bus ticket or a plane ticket, there was 100 times difference, I mean, on the cost. And I was going to go with the bus, and this guy, I said, like, no, why don't you go with the airplane? I remember this very well. Bus ticket was $50, and the flight was $51. So it's like, oh my God, this country, I kind of like. So in any way, I did come to San Diego, and then you can imagine, first to get a job, not speaking English, right? What can I possibly do? I'm 23 years old, Miss Universe shape, was decent looking. So I said, okay, let me just try my luck. I went to the first gym, and obviously I get a job, but it was minimum wage and actually below minimum. I was getting like $40 a day from 10 to 10, which, so you can imagine. And that was 1987 when I placed only 6th in that first Universe. But then I managed to be top 3 in 88 and 89. I finally won. But along the way, because a lot of people are going to say the hardships and I didn't have anything. I mean, I had zero money at the time, but I had a goal. I had a vision and a plan. So I was buying eggs at the Costco, right? There was 5 dozens for like $4. And those big cans of tuna, it was super cheap. I mean, disgusting. But hey, this was my protein source. And then my carbohydrate source, is usually rice or oats. It's quite cheap, so you can maintain it. And I built Miss Universe physique with that. Because many times I have some clients, because I do online coaching internationally. So people contact me and say, oh, I don't have a funds. I say, like, well, you go out, yeah. You go to bars, yeah. You smoke the cigarettes, yeah. So you have all the money for that, but you don't have money. You know what I mean? This is usually how it was. So for me, it was no excuses, no compromises. And just my whole theory, I'm going to sum it up, as I said, I would do everything to extreme. everything in life, right, you can do minimally, optimally, or whatever, or maximally. So if you're true to yourself, you sit down and make a plan for anything. In bodybuilding, there was, maximize stimulation and training. How am I going to do that? Maximize nutrition, have a proper amount of carbohydrates, proteins, fat, calories, right? Time it properly, rest properly, everything. So for me, in any sport, if you maximize everything, you can reach the top level.
I love the planning, and I love what you said about doing something extreme. That
Yes.
I hear people have said things to me over the years of, more balance, and I say all that, balance is for bitches. Balance is for somebody that they don't care about their goals. They don't have a serious goal. In my 40s, I have a little more balance now. I'm 43 right now. Now I have a little more balance, but I didn't live my life that way in my 20s or 30s. I was very focused on, educational goals, financial goals, and making sure that I had the freedom to spend the second half of my life to do the things, whatever I wanted to do, So people say more balance. They're poor, they haven't done anything, and I didn't like that. So I thought anything, if you want to have exceptional outcomes, whatever that is, if you want to have exceptional outcome, you're going to have to engage in exceptional behaviors. You can't do normal people things and get exceptional outcome.
Mindset and work ethics to the highest degree, but then you have to define what is it. You see, most of the people belong in that average, find a balance, be secure, don't do anything crazy. There is a craziness, it's obsession. If you just have a, interest of becoming one of the players, you're going to be that one of the player, not Michael Jordan or Kobe or LeBron or in any sport. I mean, we both are huge fans of UFC and MMA. I've seen you with many. You just told me that you're friends with Glover and with Gilbert. They're fighting tomorrow. I love the guys. So how did they get there? and you see, I'm going to say this because, of course, you're a very successful businessman and you manage money and wealth. All of us, me in bodybuilding, I never went there to make money. I mean, you mentioned Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler is an entrepreneur. He's making, quite a many millions per year, expand his fortune and does many things. But him also, he didn't go into bodybuilding because it was money. MMA fighters back in the day, how many times you heard from Michael Bisping or some other guys that they were basically sleeping in the cars?
Yeah.
And, but they had that passion for fighting. I mean, Dana White says the best way, all of us, we have a integrated fighter DNA, right? So if you really just think about, there's always challenge. If it's sport or if it's business or any aspect, right? We always want to challenge. In sports, you just challenge for the skills. But UFC, that's the ultimate skill. It's fighting skill, right? So I'm so impressed with that. And tomorrow is UFC 273, right?
I think it's so tough that what those athletes do, the UFC people, to be at the top of that is such psychological toughness, and then the training, endless training. You know what that is. You spent many years in martial arts as well. Endless training,
endless discipline. And that's with this mindset and work ethics. How many of us can have every possible excuse why I'm not going to wake up in the morning like Gilbert and Glover, run and do submission and do weightlifting and then do the striking and repeat and eat, to make the weight. They all made the weight. I'm so happy. But for extreme results, you need extreme measures, what you said. And it just, I don't know, the mindset of the people, okay, I'm just going to be one of the guys. Okay, why not be the guy,
I'm not mad at those people. I say, hey, somebody's got to deliver my Uber Eats. I'm not mad at them. I don't mean to make fun of them too much, but somebody's got to just deliver my Uber Eats. Somebody's got to sew these jeans for me. Somebody's got to do a lot of things. They got to make my coffee. Like I make my little energy drink up there, a little bit of caffeine and vitamins, so I can do. It's probably not optimal like your routines, but I like to have my little caffeine and somebody's got to manufacture that stuff and ship it and hand it, bring it to my doorstep. And I just didn't want to be that guy, I did plenty of those shitty jobs. My last job I quit when I was 19. And that was 1998 was my last job. I was working at Walmart. I was a manager at Walmart. And a year before that, I was unloading the trucks and stocking the shelves at Walmart. Third shift, so at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, you get done unloading the truck, 3, 4, then you're stocking the shelves. I tried that, and I thought, I can do better than this. This is not.
So did you have precise goal plan, or you just say, okay, I'm just going to explore and see where I land?
And sometimes, and I know people like structure. They'd like me to tell them, I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I had this vision, and it was perfect, and it turned out exactly. And and some things did, and then some things were, much more haphazard, but you were moving in the right direction, and you put yourself in the path to see opportunities or to create opportunities that were not going to happen if you weren't already moving that way and doing the things. So sometimes there's planning. I spent 9 years in universities, so I planned that, hey, let me go get this degree, and I'll get my next degree, and I'll go to graduate school and collect my next degree, and so there's some planning like that. And there's some things that you don't know what, when I quit my last job at 19, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, but I just knew that if I worked as hard on my own projects as I was working there, that I knew, for the next 2 years is going to be miserable. But year 3, year 4, and so on, my life is going to be better. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but I believed in myself that I could make it better.
I heard you say this, you have to have a planning and see, and educated guess, right? You can guess, but you have reasons why to believe that,
Yeah.
It's an inspiring story. I mean, Derek, I'm very impressed with what you have achieved and what you stand for.
I mean, you as well. I'm never going to make it to the top 10 of any notable bodybuilding competition.
I mean, if you would, this is what I said, of course, we all have a genetic predispositions for something. And I guarantee you, if you would put the 5 years, okay, that's human physiology, right? So you would not want to go there. But if you, in 5 years, train every single day, maximize nutrition, maximize stimulation, anybody can achieve that level. And when I was going into America from Yugoslavia, and they were all telling me it's impossible, I said, let me just understand that you want to tell me there are some superior human beings, and I'm inferior, so I cannot build the same muscle. It's a human physiology. You stimulate, you feed it, and you're going to grow it. And then, of course, in my vision of bodybuilding was I wanted aesthetics, proportion, symmetry. I was, after that, look not just into the muscle building.
You watch this video all the way through, and that tells me you're dedicated to learning more and earning far above average outcomes in your life. Congratulations for that. But now it's time to take action. If you could have earned those results by yourself, you would have done it already. My head coach has opened up a few spots on his high-demand calendar for an in-person, one-on-one strategy session to help you. On this call, we'll give you pragmatic advice that you can implement tonight to get laser-focused on the right metrics and leave mediocrity far behind in your past. Click that link right now in the description below and apply for your call immediately. Do it now.